Alright guys, welcome back to this channel. I hope you are all doing good. So today's story highlights this moment that quickly escalated into something unexpected. Yes, not because of force, but because of awareness and also perspective. So guys, let me roll these clips. I'll be coming back with more commentaries. And in case of any thoughts, kindly feel free to let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, stay tuned, like the video, subscribe, comment, and share.
Just hooting and hollering, really, like doing this, that, and the other up there.
If I had $1 for every time somebody that looked like him had something to say about the culture of somebody that looked like me, I could give you all reparations. Just hooting and hollering out there. Why is it hooting and hollering? Is it because it's not centering white culture?
I mean, I really can't think of a better visual representation of what Hollywood is like nowadays, because rather than focusing on delivering a cohesive, compelling performance, they're focusing on shoehorning as many political messages.
What was the political message? Quickly. Every time you guys see a presentation of a culture that is not yours, it's all of a sudden political messaging that's being shoved in your face. Hell, anytime something doesn't center white people, it's woke and political messaging. They hide their racist, bigoted preferences behind, oh, it's not cohesive, it's woke political messaging, but can't tell you what's not cohesive about it and can't bring up a single instance of a political message.
Nathaniel, please. Not today. It's always the people who look like their family trees are wreaths using AAVE to try to shit on black people. I just know this man's parents are cuzlings. Head built like a fucking scream mask, all that room, yet no brain, and at the same time, no lips, but so much to say. Oh. Yikes on bikes. Quite the oxymoron and super heavy on the moron. I'm so tired of this narrative talking about Sinners is just a movie to try to make white people look bad. Stink about I'm gonna hold your hand with a napkin between when I say this. No one has to try to make y'all look bad. I fear y'all do that just fine all by yourself. Unfortunately, Sinners is quite historically accurate when it comes to racial violence, cultural appropriation, and the exploitation of black labor and culture. The issue is instead of y'all watch...
And to even be eligible for a Best Picture award at the Oscars, you now have to meet their representation and inclusion standards. So this level of forced fake representation is sort of par for the course.
Oh no, in order to win an award, we actually have to not make a racist movie and include qualified actors of color? Oh no, the world's over. But whatever, I'm sure the example you're about to use isn't about to be exactly what I'm talking about.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy is one of the most monumental achievements in cinema of all time. But if you've seen the movies and you know what the cast looks like, you probably know that it'd be really hard for that trilogy to win 17 Oscars in this day and age. Because in this day and age, the Oscars have decided to prioritize political messaging instead of authentic storytelling.
Ah yes, Lord of the Rings, where the entire main cast is white people, and the only depiction of a person of color or parallel to people of color are shit like orcs and savages and warlike tribes and bullshit like that. Congratulations, you played yourself. And you clearly only enjoy media where white culture is depicted as being superior to everything else. Thank you for using the easiest example, dickhead. They decided to focus on political messaging instead of authentic storytelling. No, they're just realizing that racism is fucking atrocious. They realize that, oh, maybe somebody actually suffers when all we do is depict people of color as savages. Maybe we should give children of different races and ethnicities characters to look up to, rather than just drawing parallels to, I don't know, the fucking orcs. Of course, these are things you would never have to think of. We call that white privilege. You cannot fathom having this problem because you never have and never will. But go ahead. Keep on bitching and whining about political messaging anytime any culture pops up on your screen that isn't fucking Vikings.
Eggs, you try to watch history so that you can pretend like it's not true. Like the concept of saying the movie is just POC heroes teaming up on a mission to kill white villains is insane. Because mind you, their mission was to open a juke joint. Their mission was to create a space for them, by them. Their mission was to create a black-owned business for black people to come, let loose, be free, have fun, and simply exist. And then, as is historically accurate, when we create spaces for us to feel safe, here y'all come to be in our black ass business. To take, to exploit, to appropriate, to kill, steal, and destroy. Friendly reminder that Google is free 99. And if you don't want people to talk about the bad shit that you've done, maybe don't do bad shit.
Just hooting and hollering, really, like doing this, that, and the other up there. I mean, I really can't think of a better visual representation of what Hollywood is like nowadays, because rather than focusing on delivering a cohesive, compelling performance, they're focusing on shoehorning as many political messages in a hodgepodge slop soup as they can, and they expect you to eat that slop and enjoy it.
We about to fact check this shit. First, if you mess with me, make sure that follow button. Happy Women's History Month and happy Ramadan. Let's get it. What the hell is he talking about? First, that performance was not slop, it was art. And shout out to Sinners for winning Best Cinematography, Best Original Score and Screenplay, and Michael B. Jordan winning for Best Actor. And you calling that performance at the Oscar slop literally shows that racism clouds judgment, because that performance was a rendition of one of the best performances in the movie Sinners. You see, in this performance, the main character Sammy sings the Grammy Award-winning song I Lied to You. And in this performance, it's revealed that Sammy has the ability to pierce through the veil between life and death. This is an ability that musicians have, that they're able to conjure up spirits between the past and the present with their music. You see, what we need to understand is that when black people came to America, they brought nothing but their culture, and that's including their music. And music wasn't just a tool to help black people go through their oppression, but it was also a time vote that influenced music today. And blues is one of the most influential music of our lifetime. You see, back then, blues was seen as sacrilegious, and those in the Christian faith seen blues as sinners' music. But what this performance shows is that blues is not the opposite of religion, it's just the opposite side of the same coin. Because despite how religious you are, everybody sins. And blues is so authentic, so raw, that it's exposed the inevitable, which is why we see music from decades is still influenced.
Yeah, guys. Yeah. So let's continue watching, guys. As you continue watching, we're seeing this moment begins with a situation where this white individual attempts to assert dominance, or he's trying to intimidate black Americans. So on the surface, it may have looked like just any other tense interaction. However, what follows is not the reaction the individual seemed to expect. Yes, so instead of escalating the situation in the direction of fear or submission, the response shifts the tone entirely. Yes, and this conversation is turning from confrontation into education, specifically reminder rooted in black history, and that's where things take an interesting turn. Yes, so black history is not just a collection of past events. It's a powerful record of resilience. It is a powerful record of resistance and survival through generations. So when referenced in moments like this, it often serves as more than just information. It becomes context, it becomes perspective, and in this case, it becomes a reality check. So what may have been intended as intimidation was quickly met with historical awareness. Yes, it was quickly met with historical awareness that reframed the entire interaction. It demonstrated that understanding history can influence the present in ways that words or posturing alone cannot. So this moment also reflects a broader truth. In modern interactions between communities, knowledge plays a significant role in shaping outcomes. When people are aware of their history, identity, and the struggles that have come before them, they are often better equipped to respond with clarity than with fear. Yes, so at the same time, it's a reminder that assumptions about others can lead to miscalculations. Yes, so guys, let's continue watching. I'll be coming back with more commentaries. Stay tuned.
Just hooting and hollering, really, like doing this, that, and the other up there. I mean, I really can't think of a better visual representation of what Hollywood is like nowadays, because rather than focusing on delivering a cohesive, compelling performance, they're focusing on shoehorning as many political messages in a hodgepodge slop soup as they can, and they expect you to eat that slop and enjoy it. I mean, to even be eligible for a Best Picture award at the Oscars, you now have to meet their representation and inclusion standards. So this level of forced fake representation is sort of par for the course. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is one of the most monumental achievements in cinema of all time, but if you've seen the movies and you know what the cast looks like, you probably know that it'd be really hard for that trilogy to win 7.
If that was some form of rage bait or view bait, but I think your opinion is heavily wrong. I got notes and I'm going to read from them as I talk. And let's get into it. Sinners is a movie depicted in Mississippi during the 1930s when segregation and racism were still prominent and racial groups such as the KKK were still rampant among society. The performance is supposed to represent the evolution of music, aka the blues, which also heavily influenced rock. That's kind of why you hear the electric guitar and things like that. Love that part. But anyways, it heavily influenced rock and other genres of music, and it also evolved black culture. You can see on the stage, if you paid attention, the many eras and ethnic groups of black and other groups of history in their music and dance, which is also a main factor, not only in black culture, but literally every culture. And I gotta know, like, are you calling it woke slop because it's an almost all black cast and white people were depicted as the villains in this movie, aka the vampires and the KKK, and a movie with an all black cast depicting history in such a semi non-fictional way because, you know, vampires, like, those aren't real. But is it because it's not centered around white people? Because he made the comparison to the Lord of the Rings and said it would never be possible for such a movie to win as many, like, Oscars it did then as it would today because of the woke agenda that the Oscars has, and that this movie doesn't deserve to be even in the running. Also, your use of AAV is kind of ironic to me. You use our slang and then slander something that makes us feel seen and represented in the space of media and film, something that makes us happy when we watch it. How are you going to tell us how we're supposed to feel when we watch that movie when the representation wasn't even for you in the first place? And one more thing, your lack of media literacy is it's low-key concerning because that is a very cohesive movie. It's a movie depicting, like I said, in a semi non-fictional way, how history was, how Mississippi was during the 1930s, how it was really everywhere during the 1930s. So yeah, you know, you all are welcome to give your opinions. Let me hear them. I'd love to read them. Let's be adult about it. Let's not have no racism. Let's not have none of that. All right. We can be adults, have a cohesive topic and talk about it. Like, even argue about it if you want. Like, just be respectful, you know?
Just hooting and hollering, really, like doing this, that, and the other up there. Oscars.
I don't use the word offended a lot, and I don't feel offended a lot, but I feel deeply offended that he's calling Black American and Black African culture being displayed on one stage together with the amazing Sinners soundtrack is a hodgepodge of hooting and hollering, which is AAVE, by the way, using our slang. Bro is literally just mad that it's not centering white people and white culture for once. And you really cannot win with these types of people either, because no matter what, if there is any racial minority on the screen, it is forced diversity. With The Little Mermaid, when they made her black, it was like, why can't you give black characters their own original plots and shows? Everyone would be happy with that. Ryan Coogler says, okay, here's Sinners, and you're still mad. What do you want? I'm genuinely so mad right now. I'm genuinely so mad. I do not play about Sinners. Sinners was probably the best movie I've ever freaking seen, bro. I nearly ascended off of my seat in the movie theater when I saw it for the first time. I do not play. I have pride in many things, but I have so much pride in being black and being a black woman. I don't care if this makes me sound woke. I love being woke. Y'all just have a negative connotation to it. But that just pissed me off, bro. And calling it slop? Oh no. Oh no. And his main takeaway is that the whole plot is just POC characters fighting a white villain. Literally, one of the heroes is a white woman. I'm sorry, was Haley Steinfeld not in the movie? Her character was literally white and a protagonist. Sort of. But close enough. Heaven forbid we only don't have white people on the screen. That genuinely pissed me off. Like, what do y'all people want? What do y'all want? And if any of you agree with his take, block me. Get off of my page. I do not play about sinners. If you don't like sinners, better yet, get away from me.
That little white boy really said hooting and hollering and carrying on in reference to the Sinners I Lied to You performance at the Oscars. And I don't know if that's because he wants to solidify his brand as a white, ignorant, ugly American, or if he's a product of No Child Left Behind and has absolutely no understanding of American, not just of Black American culture, but American art history. He compared these performers to animals without the knowledge of the fact that animal dances like the turkey trot, the bunny hug, the grizzly bear, some of the dances that were occurring on that stage that were popular in Black communities between the 1900s and 1930s were created to subvert ballroom conventions through the syncopated movement of the hips and the shoulder. The fact that the musicians and choreographers who created that moment were able to tell hundreds of years of history in 5 minutes is historical in and of itself. They highlighted the history and connection between blues rock and hip hop in one song. They told the history of hundreds of years worth of dances from the Ivory Coast to the West Coast in 5 minutes. They had some of the most influential Black performers on that stage, from Misty Copeland to Buddy Guy to Raphael Sadiq. They had, I don't know if people peeped it, but Chinese ballet performed by Li Jun Li on that stage. And this little boy thinks that hundreds of years of cultural continuity through art is a political statement. I can only surmise that it's because he has no connection to culture. He doesn't have the experience of having a culture to celebrate and be proud of. These kinds of poor whites see displays of cultural rootedness as political and threats to white identity because they had to give up their cultures in order to gain the perception of political power that they never actually got. So when they see people challenging power via cultural resistance, it bothers them because it is truly a threat to their identity. And rather than trying to gain power and rootedness through exploring the cultures that were taken from them, they would rather consume, direct, and subvert other people's culture.
You know, guys, what may appear to be an easy target or a predictable reaction can turn into a completely different outcome when deeper understanding is involved. And ultimately, the situation was not just about one encounter. It was about perspective meeting reality. It shows how history continues to echo into present-day interactions, and it is influencing how people respond, how people communicate and interpret one another. So moments like this encourage reflection on how we engage with each other across cultural and social lines. Respect, awareness, and understanding go a long way in preventing unnecessary conflict and in building more constructive conversations moving forward. And as always, guys, stories like this remind us that sometimes the strongest response is not force, it is knowledge. Yes, guys. So, you know, guys, when this conversation shifted towards history, the energy in the room changed noticeably, and I think you have noticed that. So what started as an attempt to assert control became an exchange where facts, lived experiences, and historical context took center stage. Yes, and in that moment, it became clear that intimidation loses its effectiveness when the other side is grounded in awareness and understanding. Black history, in particular, carries lessons that are often overlooked in casual interactions. It reflects generations that have endured systemic challenges, generations that have endured cultural struggles and social transformations. Because of this, reference to that history are not taken lightly. They carry weight, meaning they carry a sense of collective memory that cannot be easily dismissed. And as the discussion continues, it became evident that the individual who attempted intimidation may not have anticipated this kind of response. And instead of backing down in fear, we are seeing the response is rooted in confidence, drawn from knowledge, and that shift alone altered the direction of the encounter. And this moment serves as an example of how quickly dynamics can change when one party is informed and composed. It's not about confrontation for its own sake. It's about understanding where you stand, where you come from, and how that shapes your response in real time. So at the same time, it's important to recognize that situations like this can escalate or de-escalate depending on how individuals choose to communicate. In this case, the presence of historical awareness acts as a stabilizing force, redirecting the interaction away from potential conflict and towards a more grounded exchange. And in broader terms, this reflects a growing trend where people are becoming more conscious or they're conscious of identity, they are conscious of history and social context. Information is more accessible than ever, and with that comes a greater ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. So what we see here is not just a single interaction, but a reflection of a larger principle that knowledge can shift power dynamics, not through aggression, but through clarity. And when people understand their history and their place within it, they are less likely to be easily intimidated or misled. And in the end, that's the real takeaway from this moment. Awareness changes everything. So guys, of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of the video. Thank you. Subscribe, like, share.